Now, I'm going to have some closing points here as we finish up this very special edition of the Freedom Report. I've worked in construction my whole life. And in construction, it's very easy to tear something down, but it's very difficult to create something. And that's why I offer a few alternatives to the current ASAP program. It's very simple. Make the program voluntary. All you have to do is when you enroll your child, you can be given a document explaining the ASAP program. You can read it over carefully, and if you'd like to be a part of the ASAP program, then you sign on the dotted line. Don't kid yourself. I recognize that there's a lot of single parents out there that have a very hard time raising some rambunctious children. They might feel the need, they might want a constable out at their house sending their kids a message that there are legal penalties in this state for not complying with compulsory attendance laws. I am fine with someone signing up for that, asking for that. That empowers a parent, gives them choices regarding the education of their child. But the current implementation of the program is mandatory. If you're in Austin Independent School District and you have an 8th grader or below, or if you're in Del Valley Independent School District and you have a 9th grader, you're part of the program whether you like it or not. So let's make the program voluntary. The state has already outlined very carefully what to do in the event of truancy. Follow that law for the people that don't volunteer for the ASAP program. For those that do, yes, send the constable out there if the parent signs on the dotted line. It also relinquishes the county of potential lawsuits surrounding this program, because there will be lawsuits if it continues. 450 visits a night, there's bound to be problems. We've seen in the news here recently about one constable that's been accused of raping a young girl. I mean, this would be a prime opportunity for something like this to take place. How can you do this? Other suggestions of the program, here's what you do. You can call your county constables. Call them, let them know how you feel. What's even better than that is to write them a letter. Write them a letter and say, I don't like the way you're implementing the ASAP program. Follow the state law or make it voluntary, or both. 2, you can call your county commissioners. Call them, let them know how you feel. I've said before, I'll say it again. Darwin McKee is especially good about this. He is excellent about returning phone calls. I have heard more people than you can imagine say that they called Darwin McKee and he returned their phone call personally. It may not have happened the next day, but it happened within a week or so. He's an excellent person to start with. Write your county commissioners. This is even better than phone calls. Phone calls are very easy. Somebody takes down a quick message and the thing gets lost or whatever. A letter is very difficult to get rid of. It sits on somebody's desk. Somebody gets to look at it sooner or later. Together, we can end the ASAP program as it's currently being implemented. We have already seen in the tapes that you watched this evening, Judge Alshire is finally starting to make sense on this program. He's recognized that there are flaws all over the place with the statistics, that it doesn't make sense to spend $600,000 of the county's money and $275,000 of Austin Independent School District money to implement a program of this type. We can have volunteers come into schools and make these phone calls. It doesn't need to be county constables coming to your house. We can pay new school attendance clerks with that money, far less money, to come in and make these phone calls. We can have personal computers with programs that automatically dial these telephone numbers and leave a pre-recorded message asking the parent or guardian or whoever's in charge of that child to call the school that, hey, your child was absent from school this day. There are so many alternatives to this program, and I want to leave you with this one last thought. $600,000 at the county level is being spent on this program. $275,000 is being spent on this program by Austin Independent School District. I don't know how much Del Valley is spending on this. Imagine for a second how many computers $875,000 will buy. How many teachers will $875,000 get? How many classrooms can $875,000 build? There can be a lot of productive things that can be done with this money instead of something counterproductive like the ASAP program. My name is Steve Lane. I thank you for watching this special edition of the Freedom Report.
Stay tuned right here for more classics.
We're back here today, and we've got a lot of things to talk about here. Number one, we've got coming up later in the program some exclusive footage from a press conference that was in Alpine, Texas last Friday, I believe. Yeah, Thursday or Friday. Thursday. And it involved Howard Miller, who was a guest on this show, Gene Ritter, who was a guest on this show last week. And it was concerning the trial of the ambassador of the Republic of Texas, Rick McLaren. Now, this is exclusive footage of the total news conference. This is not just a little 30 to 40, 50-second piece that you might have seen on the national news, where they're feeding you what they want to feed you. This is actually much of the comments that were made concerning the event and what is perceived to be in the Patriot Network as a kangaroo court operation. So that's coming up here in just a few minutes. Probably, let's say, 10 minutes or so, something like 10, 15 minutes. Now, what's a couple things I want to talk about. First off, folks, let me just mention this. I'm assuming this is non-profit, right? This House the Homeless thing? Okay. I was asked to do this, so I'm going to do it. And I don't know that much about it.
Yeah.
This was sent to our P.O. box?
It's just a public service announcement.
Okay. All right, here we go. Public service announcement. Can't put the number up there. Okay. All right, can we get a close-up of this, or is that out of the question?
Yeah.
Okay. This is, your presence is requested at the house, the Homeless. It's a Town Lake Memorial remembrance of the homeless men and women who have died on the streets of Austin. And this is November 23rd, 1997. That's good enough right there, I guess. This was requested to be, this was actually sent to our P.O. box, and that's coming up on November 23rd, 1997. It's basically a remembrance of the kind of a get-together of the homeless men and women who have died on the street of Austin. Now, we have a quote, folks, that ties into this. I don't know if we're ready with it or not, but we have a quote. Okay, we'll come back to this in just a minute. A couple things I want to talk about here first. Now, this is something that was, since we've got the close-ups rolling here, this was something I've been hearing about here for the last 3-4 months, and I now have a copy of House Bill. This is a state bill, a House Bill, House Bill 2901. Can we get a quick?
Yeah, hold it up.
It's called relating to paramilitary training organizations / providing a criminal penalty, and this is coming to us from that Loving state operation. Okay, let's get a close up of that here. It's House Bill 2901. Right there's a copy of it. I don't know if y'all can see it or not. I'm hoping. Can you zoom in real close with that? Okay, there's a copy of House Bill 2901. And I'm going to read to you folks some of the operations going on here within this corporate de facto government. Keep in mind, folks, that the Second Amendment was quite clear in its reason for why the American people needed to have firearms. It wasn't for duck hunting, and it wasn't for can blanking, as Hillary Clinton would have you say when they try to push for gun legislation. I'm going to tie this also into some efforts that Mr. Clinton is pushing for right now with some gun legislation. But I want to just first show you this bill. This is a state bill, House Bill number 2901. Apparently, this legislation took effect on September 1st of 1997. And but anyway, some of the particulars to this this state bill that took effect here just a couple of months back. Number one, subsection talks about civil disorder, which means a public disturbance involving an act of violence by a group of 3 or more persons. Now that almost sounds, fairly legitimate. If you go out and destroy something, then you should be punished. However, when you read the face of this bill, when you continue to read the contents of the bill, it goes on to say basically in subsection 3 here, it defines a paramilitary organization, and this is actually now considered criminal according to this bill that took effect. Paramilitary organization means a group of 3 or more persons organized on a military pattern who possess firearms or explosive weapons. So essentially what that's saying, folks, if you are in a group, if you're over at somebody's house, a friend's house, and there's 3 or more of you there, and you happen to possess a firearm, according to this new bill that took effect, you are breaking the corporate de facto laws. Paramilitary organization means a group of 3 or more persons organized on a military pattern who possess firearms. That's exactly what that's saying, folks. No other doubt about it. This is what this means here. So in other words, if you're out with 2 of your kids, let's say you're an older person and you're out with 2 of your teenagers, essentially, technically, by this bill here, you can be you're subject to this tyrannical law here. And then in subsection 4B, and it says train in the use of or teach the use of firearms to others for the purpose of committing an offense. Now this is kind of vague here. Now of course if it means my position is basically as long as you don't impose that right upon somebody else, you can basically have any type of gun or weapon or anything you want. But if you continue to read this, basically if you teach or demonstrate to another to use, apply, or making of a firearm or technique capable of causing injury or death if the person has reasons to know or intends that firearm to be used as a technique to cause civil disorder, or meets with 2 or more persons as a paramilitary organization to train with, practice, or be instructed in the use of a firearm. And it just goes on. Basically what it's saying here, folks, the gist of this HB 2901, which is a state bill, was that basically it completely oversees the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Bill of Rights, which allows us the authority, of course, to maintain firearms. So this is another blatant attack on the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So basically, folks, just keep that in mind now. Technically, by this law here, if you are meeting with a group of 3 or more people and you happen to possess a firearm, by definition of this House bill here, you are essentially a criminal. It can be foreseen as such, which I think is very interesting. Now, there's also some other piece of legislation coming down from the feds. It's actually not legislation yet, but it's the conditioning is underway for it, and we're going to be talking about gradualism here in just a little bit, and how the American people, through gradualism, have been, and shock treatment and shock therapy, have been conditioned to believe the things that are going on around us are acceptable. And we're going to be talking about that here in just a little bit. Some of the things that Mr. Clinton is trying to get through the Congress and whatnot is first off, he's calling for total disbandment to make it illegal for any type of imported assault weapon coming into the country. As Hillary Clinton stated, that it was we don't need these assault weapons for duck hunting and for hunting purposes. This is what we're being told. So this is the propaganda being used now to continue to take away more of our right to keep and bear arms, and to condition the American public that we don't need all of these weapons because after all, it's not legitimate for duck hunting and deer hunting, which of course again is not what the Second Amendment was put in the Constitution for. So the attacks on our liberties and our firearms are very blatant right at this time. Very blatant on our attacks on our Second Amendment. And this House bill thing that I've been hearing about for a long time is very evident of some of the shenanigans going on even at the state level. I want to talk a little bit to you all about, before we get to some calls here, about something that's been on my mind here this last week or so. Now, when I started this program, roughly 4.5 years ago, May of 1993, it was mentioned to me that many of the things that I was talking about, or I was going to be getting into, were crackpot things, were conspiracy theories, whatnot. Basically, the line at that time was that anybody that talks like I do is somehow a conspiracy theory, a conspiracy kook, and this is not real. And we talked about different things like, for example, black helicopters, unmarked black helicopters on this program, which there's been hundreds of thousands of eyewitness accounts of black helicopters flying over America. Unmarked, unidentifiable black helicopters. Hundreds of thousands of accounts of this, and yours truly has even seen a few of them in the last 4 years. Now, that was one thing. One of the second things that I talked about was how dangerous it was to allow people who are not identified, meaning wearing some type of facial covering, such as a black ski mask, to come busting into your homes. This is very similar to the Inquisition and some of the tactics of the emperors and their minions of many centuries back. And we talked about this, how this was dangerous, that we cannot allow people who are unidentifiable to come busting into our houses and into our homes. And we talked about this. We talked about the movement towards taking away our U.S. sovereignty, putting it into the hands of ungodly world organizations like the World Trade Organization and the United Nations and the NATO and the World Health Organization and various different factions on the so-called international community. We talked about all of this, and we still do talk about it. But the fact is, we talked about all these things, and at that point in time, the general philosophy that the establishment media would condition the American public to accept was that this was wild conspiracy talk, and there's no truth, no basis to this. Well, come to find out, folks, that they are now, in many forums on the so-called media, admitting that much of this is now a reality. They do, in fact, employ officers from different levels of so-called law enforcement to come busting into your house wearing ski masks. This is a fact. They're admitting it now. They're also admitting the fact that they're using certain aircraft, unmarked aircraft, for surveillance. They're admitting this now. Keep in mind, 3 or 4 years ago, this was written off as wild conspiracy talk. Okay, but now a lot of this stuff is being admitted to. At the time when I first started discussing these things, it was brought to my attention that this could not be true, and that Jeff Davis, actually the people were programmed to think that what I was saying was some type of wild story. And that was the line that was fed then. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this, folks, is because this is a very important area where the enemy is manipulating the minds of the masses. And the masses do not even understand how they're being manipulated around like goats. And that's what you are. You're being manipulated around like goats. There's no other way to say it. You people you have your thoughts and your minds and thoughts and opinions are shaped and controlled, and you don't even know it, that this is happening to you. But the fact is, 3 or 4 years ago, the standard line was that this was conspiracy, wild conspiracy talk. Now that they're admitting it to you, what are the dumbbells and the dupes saying about this stuff now and what I was saying 4 years ago? Well, I'll tell you, folks, it's the simple, oh, that's okay. So what about if they're doing that? So what if they're busting into people's homes with ski masks? I saw that on McNeil Lear. I saw that on such and such, the CNN. That's okay. It's acceptable. So before, folks, I want to drive this home to how duped you are, the ones that you out there that don't understand how you're being manipulated like goats. You're being told you're getting fed one set of goods on one end 3 or 4 years ago, and you're falling for that. Now, through conditioning and through gradualism, you're being forced to believe that what's happening to you is acceptable. This is a very powerful, very subtle brainwashing going on of the American public, and most of you don't even know what's happening. Now, I'm just coming out with it today. Many of you people, probably not the ones that watch this show, but many of the people that were saying these things about me and others like me are dupes, and you're being duped by a brainwashing mechanism that's so entrenched now, and 24 hours a day of propaganda being fed to you that you don't even understand what's happening to you and how your thoughts and your opinions are being shaped and molded by people you don't even know. And that's the bottom line. You're dupes.
Look who we got here. Somebody that we haven't seen in about 20 years is
Hello there.
Late and great.
Good to see you.
George Humphrey.
Yes. Oh my goodness! I see who it is. Yes.
Tell us what you've been up to.
Oh my goodness! Isn't this a great day?
Yes.
It is amazing.
Tell us why you're here, hurry, because it's my Facebook.
My heart is heavy for the world, but my heart is also happy for the good people here. We need to get back to work, and we need to realize that this cure, it's not a cure, it's not about a virus, it's about political control. And we are free and sovereign, and we have the choice to either be slaves or to be free. I choose to be free. Yeah. This is George Humphrey. And this guy is awesome. Mike Hanson, the Mike Hanson Archives. Check it out.
And it's going and advancing that even further. I now want to get in briefly, talk about this, what's going on down here at City Hall. This is a fiasco going on down here at City Hall, and I haven't heard one person yet say exactly what any of this stuff is all about. First off, folks, we have about, if I read it right, we have approximately $90 million worth of bonds that are fixing to get bucked to the Travis County taxpayers tomorrow. I hope that there is enough resistance in this community, if the elections are not rigged, to vote these bonds down and get this debt keep this debt from piling up on the backs of the Travis County taxpayers. Personally, I would say with the huge propaganda machine that's in place here locally, the majority of these bonds will probably pass. But beyond that, Jeff Davis stands against these bonds that are going to be voted on tomorrow because they are nothing more. They have nothing to do with the kids or the parks or the buildings or the roads. What they have to do with is debt. And somebody's financing these bonds, preferably the New York banking houses, and that's where this is coming from. So I'm hoping that if the elections are not rigged, and many of us believe that they may be, that these bonds, or at least part of these bonds, will be voted down tomorrow, and at least for now, that debt will be off the backs of the Travis County taxpayer. So I encourage anybody that watching this show, if you still vote, if you still believe in voting, to go and vote against every one of these bonds. Don't believe the line of the lying newspaper down here about it being for the kids. Don't believe this crap, because everything's for the kids or for the environment or for the roads, or for what it comes down to is debt and for the financiers. So vote against every one of these bonds. Now I want to talk a little bit about this annexation deal going on down here at City Hall. Now this is a situation where it's much deeper and much broader than the resistance that we're seeing. The fact is the slave masters, and that's what they are, preferably like people to be sucked into these huge cities. That makes people dependent upon cities, their water systems, their electrical systems, etc. They hate independence, so they basically want to get everybody hooked into these cities and get us all, get everybody rung into these cities and their so-called services. Now the annexation deal is a bad deal. Let me make that clear. It's a bad deal. It has to do more with regionalism, finances, and setting up this global world order system more than it does anything. That's essentially what it's all about, folks. It doesn't make a difference whether you understand that or know that or believe that. That is what it's all about. Now if you notice, if you've been watching any of the city council, and I can watch little of it, but a little bit I've watched, even the opposition from these neighborhood groups is not, it's not real opposition. It's what I call loyal opposition. If you hear what they're saying, the few that I've watched, it's not that they don't really mind being annexed and taken over by the big beast called the city of Austin. They don't want to be annexed without the guarantee of all the so-called services. You know, those services where they take good care of you and provide all of the quality services. So it's loyal opposition. The fact is, annexation should be rejected, should be fought against for the fact that these outside communities do not want to be incorporated into this huge beast. They don't want to acquire the debt of the huge beast. And many of them, I would hope, would not want to fall under the regulation of the huge beast. But generally speaking, that's not what we're hearing from the opposition. The opposition basically is that we don't want to be annexed until you can guarantee that we get all of our services. So the annexation is a problem. And then I just heard the other day that there's probably going to be more city bonds coming up sometime next fall. So more debt piling up on us. It's just a continuous onslaught of debt and bureaucracy and regulation coming at us unparalleled probably in the history of the world. That's the simplest way to put it. We're under attack here. And unfortunately, many of the people that are in the resistance or on the surface in the resistance do not understand exactly what's even happening with it, and the resistance is weak. Okay, let me just get back to this thing here again. Town Lake Memorial Sunrise Service, November 23rd, 1997, in remembrance of the homeless men and women who have died on the streets of Austin. Now I'm going to go ahead and promote this for this organization, but I'm going to put my spin on it as to why there's so many homeless people running around in America today. And I think this quote coming up here by Thomas Jefferson will best define why I believe many people are homeless and becoming homeless. And I think Thomas Jefferson, some 175 years ago, said it best when he made the quote that, we ready with it? But basically, I can go ahead and read it if they're not. Okay, right there it is, folks. That is a direct quote from Thomas Jefferson. if the American people ever allow private bankers to issue their currency first by inflation and second by deflation, the people will one day wake up homeless on the continent their fathers once conquered. Now, you're probably not going to hear that from this organization here, but it doesn't make any difference. Here on the Jeff Davis Show, we come out and tell you, folks, what's really going on here and what's behind all of this. And that's it, cut and dry. If you want to know my opinion, that's why we're under attack down here. But that's okay. We're going to keep on telling it like it is and tell you who's doing it to you down here, because somebody has to do it. And that's the function of this program and the people that are involved with this program. Now, a couple of other quick things I want to just quickly talk about here. You've got these, I'm going to change the name here a little bit. I'm going to start, at least from my angle, I'm going to start calling them the Freedom Seminars. And they have been at the last Sunday of every month now. I think this will be about the sixth one that's been there. And yours truly is one of the speakers, or at least scheduled to be one of the speakers, and many other people there that speak at these seminars. And the last time there was a pretty good turnout, and that's all I can really say about that. But the last Sunday of every month, there are these. If you seek alternative type of information, these seminars are. I'm going to start calling them the Freedom Seminars. I think that's more appropriate of a title. So anyway, folks, vote against the bonds. Tomorrow is the bond day. If you haven't already voted against them, go vote against every one of them. Every one of them. Because remember, debt is slavery. And don't let the propagandist convince you that this is for the kids. If the people that controlled this system cared about the kids, they wouldn't have slaughtered 17 of them in Waco, Texas on April 19th, 1993. And speaking of Waco, Texas, February 22nd we're scheduled to have a Waco remembrance down here. And it's in conjunction with the Freedom Seminars. And we have several of the Branch Davidian survivors scheduled to come down here. And that'll be on February the 22nd of 1998. The date's not up there, but it is coming, and that should be a good event as far as I'm concerned. Okay, now, I want to just mention a couple of hypocrisies that I've seen in the news today, or the news over the last week, and some of the most ridiculous things that I have seen, some of the most ridiculous emissions of things coming out of that news that it's absolutely incredible what they're saying. First off, I sat up there and watched Madeleine Albright and Bill Clinton, supposedly, of course, they're just puppets in the world order game, in the world order business. Anybody that understands that knows that. However, for these people to sit up there on national television and condemn China for supposedly human rights violations, for example, in Tiananmen Square and whatnot, this is laughable. In fact, it's incomprehensible that these people could be talking about human rights violations in China, in Tiananmen Square specifically, when just in the last 15 years, this government, from just what we know, what we've been told, has murdered 80-some people in Waco, snuffed out the young 14-year-old Sam Weaver in Ruby Ridge, Idaho, Gordon Call, the man that didn't believe in paying his taxes, just on and on and on, the so-called human rights violations that this government has participated in, the hypocrisy and the deception of these phony leaders trying to pin China with these allegations is preposterous, to say the least. It's absolutely preposterous. And quite frankly, I think the whole China situation at this point in Taiwan and some of these things that's happening on Wall Street is nothing more than a diversion to get you away of what's happening here and get you thinking the enemy are the problems in China and Taiwan, where in fact the enemy's right here in the good old U.S. of A. Preferably in the Washington District of Criminals and the banking houses of New York City. That's the enemy. So, and another thing too I want to put to rest. Anybody that says that I am privileged to come up here and tell you all this, and this government is so loving that they allow me to do this, and they won't allow that in other countries, you're full of it, man. You're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about. This information is so prevalent now in other countries, other nations, that it got so bad in Bosnia, for example, that they literally, the anti-UN and the anti-NATO information that was being disseminated was so bad, was so much and so pervasive in Bosnia that they literally went in and scrambled their communication lines. You people don't know what you're talking about. You're duped on almost every front these days. You're focused in on fashion, Marv Albert, OJ, all of this crap that they feed you. And you're getting your rights stripped blind from you. You're getting your resources sucked off from you. And you're focused on absolute issues that they're feeding you of no significance. And you're blaming people like me for complaining about what's going on here. What hypocrites. What hypocrites you are. To listen to the propagandists who are controlling and manipulating your minds and you don't even know who they are. Absolute hypocrites. Now with that, I want to say beyond that, everything is well here for Jeff Davis. Everything is going quite well here for now. And, okay, let me just mention that coming up here, there's the return of teledemocracy. This Friday, 8:30 p.m. on Channel 16. Teledemocracy returns with my friend Greg Erickson. So any of you teledemocracy fans, he is coming back as this Friday. I guess that's the 7th of November, something to that effect. And with that, folks, I know the lines are jammed. Just stay on the lines. What we're going to do now, I'm going to run this footage of this press conference that took place Thursday of last week. And now a lot of this was seen on the national news. Well, not a lot of it. About a minute and a half of it was seen on the national news. And I don't fault them for only showing a minute and a half of it, because they do have limited time for these things. But what I do criticize them for is the side that they want you to hear. In this coverage that we got, first-hand footage, you'll get all the information, or at least part of it. It's like 40 minutes, and we're going to run like 20 minutes of it. But you're going to hear the actual news conference and different interviews with different people, and all of this. So I think that, and then we'll be back for the last half hour or so.
You should thank the people who dropped our associates.
Okay.
Way out there.
Okay, folks. I want to thank the Ritters again. They've been a frequent guest on the program. They're doing some excellent work. And genuinely, I want to thank everybody that's been involved in this show, that's been doing some excellent work with this show. Linda's sitting in here. R.E.'s sitting out there. There's been a lot of people here that have contributed to this show and continue to contribute to this show. And this is what I believe puts this program at another level down here at ACTV, although some would say differently. Okay, now with that, let's go to this footage here, and then we'll come back to take your all's calls, because I am kind of curious to know what's on your mind. I've had a lot of guests down here the last 3 or 4 weeks, and we haven't had a lot of calls. So if anybody's got any information on any of these topics that I talked about earlier, or anything new going on in the world, you know, the world order is moving right along here, folks, and it's accelerating. So if you got any information on any of this stuff, please, here's your forum. Here's your opportunity to tell the viewers of this program what's coming down and what's being planned for our children and our grandchildren. So with that, let's go ahead and go to this footage, and stay on the lines, folks, if you can, and we'll be back in about 15 minutes. And God bless you.
Sorry to interrupt your classic viewing, but here is Jeff Davis. What is it?
Legendary Jeff Davis show.
And what should they do?
Well,
subscribe to...
I gotta make my proper
Okay, go ahead.
introduction.
Go ahead.
Legendary Jeff Davis show, baby. From Central Texas, USA. Best in the world for 30 years.
And you're watching some 25-year-old...
We're watching Mike Hanson Archives here on Facebook. Now, Mike, tell us about your...
Okay, well, that's... You don't interrupt. Let's go right back to Jeff Davis.
There's going to be international charges brought against these people. There's a whole bunch of stuff being covered. You people need to get some of your stories straight. Well, if you slow down and talk to us, we might.
I don't believe they let him. I think he'd like to slow down and talk. Oh,
You getting a fair trial?
Maybe we should refer him to the...
Are you kidding? No, I'm serious. Is he?
No, he's not.
Hey, let's talk to this gentleman here.
Maybe we should refer him to the, what's he called?
He'll be here.
Civil Affairs Officer.
He'll be here. Are you guys ROT members?
Yes.
Okay. Is he getting a fair trial?
No.
Why?
The law doesn't count here. Morales is appointed judge, to heck with any legal problem, just run these guys through. And this is something that you guys should be concerned about, because you could be next. I mean, in Waco, they had you back 4 miles. No one said it. He's getting a review. A couple of y'all complained to standoff because you're 10 miles away. And this is the result of it. I mean, this is a dangerous precedent.
Have you,
I'm not surprised at it, but it's, it's still dangerous.
Have you sat in the courtroom at all?
Not yet. We just got here today. But we've had reports from our people down here, the last couple of days.
How many so-called people do you think will show up for the verdict?
Don't know. We've had, about a dozen or so wandering around for the last week, so,
What does this mean if he gets a conviction?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You won't say.
I won't say. I won't say.
Is there still a Republic of Texas movement? Are there still people who support him?
Is there still an active militant branch?
I don't think we ever had an active militant branch.
They found him with a lot of guns and bombs and weapons. What would you call that?
Have you seen any of these bombs they found them with?
I saw a lot of the weapons they confiscated.
But not the bombs.
I saw pictures of gas cans, which...
You don't know if they were full or empty or what? I don't... How many weapons they have up there? 4 or 5? All I seen was that little beat-up Russian rifle and that little pimp gun McLaren had.
What are y'all's options if he gets convicted? What can you do?
Well, he'll probably run through an appeal process, but there's a lot of irons in the fire as far as the lawsuits going on, and state, federal, and international filings that have taken place. So we'll see what happens. This is basically a jurisdictional issue, and I'm sure the Supreme Court of Texas has ruled that the state has no jurisdiction over the Republic of Texas. It's a separate entity. According to the congressional record, in several instances starting from 1870 and ending up at the 104th Congress in 96, this place is supposed to be a nation.
Let me ask you this. Is he hurting himself by not presenting or mounting a defense of any kind?
I don't think so. I mean, because if you're on trial in his position and this is a jurisdictional issue, then if you start mounting a defense according to state laws, then you've hung yourself out to dry.
Is he a dangerous guy? Is this movement dangerous?
No offense, but I think you're more dangerous than he is. I mean, he's a gentle guy.
Well, how do you explain the fact that Joe Rowe was wounded in a hostage-taking scenario?
Well, he wasn't down there.
Who was it?
McLaren.
He was on the show, though, wasn't he? He's on the radio.
Was he on the show? Yes, but as far as what happened to Rose, You know, I wasn't there, so I can't tell you exactly what decision was made by the people that got there. As I understand, they were under the impression that they weren't home, and when they got there and they were home, I mean, it's, you know, that's up to the people that were there. I don't know what circumstances led up to that or anything else, so.
Do you see them as being military targets?
Yes.
Still see them as military targets?
Why? Well, if they were your next door neighbor and they notified law enforcement or an enemy that every time you take wind, it might make you a little nervous.
Yeah, but it's a free country.
Well, it's true. Still, you don't want someone spying on you all the time, do you?
It's free country.
I mean, well, that's true, but I mean, would you want me watching you every time you went somewhere, taking pictures, or calling neighbors, having them follow you around anytime you left?
No, but that doesn't make you a military target. That makes you somewhat a stalker or something like that. It doesn't make you military.
Perhaps, well, maybe so, okay.
Have you been talking with him during this trial?
Yes, I have.
What's he telling you about?
We don't discuss trial a lot. We kind of BS and chew the fat. He'll give you some of his feelings on it, but other than that, we just kind of a release for him. He'll call my house. We BS for a while about it.
He was on the Jeff Davis show about 2 weeks ago.
Is he taking this trial here seriously?
Oh yeah.
Why is he defending himself?
Well, it's a jurisdictional issue, so he's trying to bring that situation to the forefront. That's one of the things that these lawsuits are about, and I think if that was to get resolved, then it would be a whole different situation. There would be a defense, and whether the conviction would still happen or not, I mean, I don't know, but that's one of the issues that has to be decided before he wants to go on.
You said earlier we should all be concerned. Why?
Well, the judge here isn't paying a whole lot of attention to the law, and I think if you were on trial for anything from speeding tickets to whatever, I mean, you would want them to have to play by the same rules that you do. And in essence, what he's told Claret and anyone involved with freedom and liberty, you have to obey the rules if we don't. And if you don't like it, you can.
But if he's found guilty and convicted, should there be any reason for concern? Will there be any retaliatory kind of actions?
I don't see any retaliatory type thing in the near future. That would be kind of like shutting the gate after the horses got out, you know.
Is he getting a fair shake in the media?
No.
Why not?
In all honesty, I think that all of you all are under shall we say, pressure from your bosses to come up with a story. And there's a fellow in Austin, Jeff Davis, has a program on the access thing. He's getting pretty pressure. He's sitting on the program by telephone, asked tough questions, looked at it from an open mind, understands what's going on. There's a lot of forces at work in the country right now, and we need to be aware of it, and instead of just kind of poo-pooing everything about, oh, well, Clinton's bad, but so what? No, he's worse than bad. George W.'s worse than bad. You know, I've got a business card printed up, and on the back of it, the last line is slavery an option. That's something that everyone needs to think about. There's a lot of things going on in this country that people aren't paying attention to.
So why would that informant testify yesterday that Claret wanted to buy those kind of missiles to use against the governor's plane? That's not a peaceful movement.
I don't know if he wanted to buy the missiles or not, but normally, and the folks that I've run into that are federal informants, that's always the first thing they push on you, is to come on, buy some goodies, come on, buy some goodies. Now, I'm a model railroader as a hobby, and I used to go to train shows. I knew as a fellow went around to train shows wanting to know if anybody wanted to buy truckloads of M16s. And I'm like, whoa. But I mean, you know, he uses an informant. I mean, it's a usual entrapment thing. If you want to find a drug dealer, go out there and start peddling dope.
So if you don't like someone, they're a military target like the Rose or Governor
No, it's not a matter of liking them or whatever. That's something that the government has to decide on, whether they're a target or an objective or someone that needs to be, looked at, watched, whatever. Same as any other government. You know, I don't run the government, so I have no say.
What's your name?
Gene Ritter.
R-I-D-D-E-R?
T-T.
What do you want to say that McLaren hasn't?
You drive them, guys. Y'all could be next.
How How so?
Well,
And what do you mean by that?
well, a lot of freedoms are being stripped away from us in this country. And again, going back to the standoff, you guys were 10 miles away. They sent out their talking head to tell you what they wanted you to hear. And you had no idea what was going on up there. I didn't. You know, we hear that the Rose was kidnapped, and that's the word going around, but no one can see it. You weren't able to go up to the house and look. You know, as news media, if they would have treated you guys when Nixon was in hot water the way you're treated now, I mean, you guys would have caused more trouble than the country's ever seen. If they would have denied you access to Nixon and what you're doing now, y'all would have started a civil war. The media would have started a civil war.
Gene, are you
Yes.
where do you live? Do you live where they
And there goes the civil affairs officer.
And the remain of peaceful movement. The whole thing is, like I said, it's a jurisdictional thing. It's a legal situation. And the word, you know, there's a fella in the van that'll be over here in a few minutes and has a good luck.
You just went in the door?
That you'll understand what it's all about.
You just went in the door, Gene?
Okay.
But a guilty verdict instead of sent back then for your cause.
They seem to think, you know, these fellas seem to think they can get rid of the clear and kill the business. But I don't think that's the case at all. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of good people involved, active people. You know, there's one of them.
Where's the rest of the Republic of Texas? Where are the rest of the people? Why aren't they out here supporting Rick McLaren?
Well, most of you got to work for a living and expect to take off and go halfway across the state. You know, I took the time off today, and it's hurting me financially, but, you know, I'll be here today. There's been quite a few here since we've been in and out. All of us can't stay for 2 weeks. We've had folks coming in and out. They'll be coming in. Why would you show us support, see what's going on? Report it to the other folks, you know, much the same y'all are doing.
Where do you go from here?
There's a lot of court issues that are at stake, like I said, both on a state, federal, international level, and those are coming up. We're hearing those that have to be addressed, and some of those will have very serious ramifications of what's going on.
To what extent does it hurt a little bit to have given prison?
Well, I think it would hurt anyone to have it would hurt a family to have a member of the family. If your brother went to prison, I mean, it hurt your family. You know, and it's about the same thing. About the same thing. One of them deals. I mean, you know, we hope it doesn't turn out that way because it's kind of a bizarre corruption of justice, but it happens. You know, he wouldn't be the first guy real murdered. You know, go to that. Same thing we got here on the bench. You know, the judge didn't care. He just got to run up there and going home. You betcha. What's your ROT? Gene, Twitter.
Get a lot of tension out here. Anyway, it's a break time. Courthouse. Only about 3 or 4 satellite trucks here. Here's Gene.
Then the case obviously goes directly to the jury for deliberation. I'm not impressed with what I saw there as far as I'm concerned. It's not a trial, it was a hoax.
Not either. Nobody was there to object. The witnesses they had would just say anything.
It's the image of what they're doing that is disgusting as the facts of what they're doing. the witnesses that are on there not being honest. It's like a good old boy network club. The amount of absence of evidentiary control that is going on is blatant in the expressions of its corruption. Obviously, when the Morales decision to encourage the court to not worry about making any
Yes, sir.
not being careful about following the rules, well, they certainly took it to heart because they haven't followed them. It would be interesting at this point to look behind the desk and look inside of the hearts as well as the heads of the people that are involved with this. I've got some notes that I'm going to be putting together. Once I get those put together, I'll contact a couple of the people on the press staff who put together a brief news announcement from our perspective. And from that, I would say we can go ahead and wrap things up.
Oh, okay. We've been getting lots of attention. Getting ready for 12 noon live broadcast.
Okay, folks, guess who showed up to Gonzales, Texas? Old Trailer Pokey. We still look good after all these years, don't we?
Yeah, right, huh?
How long has it been? How long have we known each other?
35, 40 years? What?
Since probably 1994 or 19.
Yeah.
That's about 25, 26 years or something.
It's been a long time.
Even before Alex Jones, right?
Yeah, before Alex Jones.
Yeah. But Pokey, as I call him, Jimmy Ritter.
I'm a truck driver. They call me Slow Pokey.
Yeah, and his wife that taught me everything that I know about editing at the Access TV. She just passed away. How long has it been since she passed?
27 months last Monday.
27 months.
Already.
Oh my God. But tell him what you're doing these days. And also he just like me, he has done a lot of camera work for Jeff Davis and for Alex Jones over the years.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've been through it, haven't we?
We certainly have.
And you know, we're trying to get a lot of that up and running on Alex's new website. Well, it's not a new website, it's Infowars.com, but it's on band.video on his website.
Bad videos, huh?
And then, well, YouTube's taking a lot of our videos down, even though they're calling it against community standards. I mean, how can anything be against community standards on YouTube, especially 25-year-old tapes?
Yeah.
But anyway,
politically motivated.
Let's catch everybody up out here. Everybody knows you out here, don't they?
Pretty much.
Okay, well, tell them what you're doing over the last couple of years. It's been a hard 27 since Chris passed away.
Chris was the producer.
It's been a hard time. I miss her.
There's Gary,
There's a new producer there.
He's been well involved.
Say hi.
Hello.
Yeah. But you come down here to get some. I've been picking you some tapes. I found
overwhelmed with them, I understand.
I'm overwhelmed with these tapes out here, but I found some of your home movies. Not that kind of home movies. But
see mine in younger years.
Someone knows some of your kids are in their younger years. You know, just think that's 25 years ago. How old is your son now?
My youngest is 30.
See, mine's 35.
Yeah.
And my daughter's
granddad is now.
Yeah, and I got 13-year-old granddad.
Yeah, we do look pretty good.
Yeah, we look good for being grandpas.
Got a rubber hose up my nose.
Okay, well, we'll cut it short, folks. But what are you doing? Well, if you're giving websites out, Mike Hanson Archives on YouTube too.
The Trailer Park Show.
Okay.
We're still doing that.
What are you doing now? You said you're moving. You're going to leave Austin.
I'm going to leave Austin. It costs too much money.
I don't blame you there.
And down in Altamont, and I hate to leave Austin, but I'm going to go down with some more family members down by New Braunfels. We're still going to do the show online. And we've been having lots of guests, as you know. George Rodriguez was just on last weekend, last Monday, from San Antonio. And we'll have a whole bunch more coming on.
Well, God bless you, Jimmy. You're a good friend. And we'll see y'all next time. Right here on Mike Hanson Archives.
I love Mike Hanson Archives.
Oh, yeah, say that. There you go.
Mike Hanson Archives.
Well, you need to speak up a little bit. All right, God bless y'all.
God bless the Republic and the United States, and death to the New World Order! Yeah! All right! Yeah! Yes, thank you very much, folks.